Hi, and welcome to the session on intellectual property landscape in Europe, which is part of the first module, Understanding the Business and Innovation Ecosystem in Europe. In this session, we will talk about the main particularities to consider if you're coming here and the most recent developments. So let's start off with some of the most remarkable differences that will impact your business strategy and your outcomes. There are many more, but I'll give you just my top 10. This is not a rank whatsoever, but keep them in mind. Protection duration. Time is gold, right? So every time-related aspect is worth knowing. Compared to Latin American countries, IP rights have very different duration and faster registration proceedings. In other words, more exclusivity time. For example, patents last 20 years from the filing date. Industrial designs are protected for 5 years, renewable up to 25 years. Trademarks protection is granted for 10 years renewable periods from the filing date, and copyright, well, copyright is not that harmonized, and you have to pay attention to national differences. Generally speaking, it's 50 years after the author's death, or 70 depending on the country. But it also varies depending on the type of work. For instance, software, databases, or mere pictures range from 50 to 70 years from publication. And what happens if during those periods you are unable to exploit them? Well, there's an obligation of use, so you could either be forced to grant compulsory licenses or lose your IP rights. My advice? Do not register what you don't intend really to use, or find your way to use it, be that by yourself or through others. In any case, do not let your intellectual property rights unboxed from more than certain consecutive years, 3 for patents or 5 for trademarks. Second use patents. You'd be glad to know that medical inventions might be recycled, as second-use patents are accepted in Europe. Second medical use claims protect the use of an already known substance or composition in a new therapeutic application. I bet you know Viagra, but you probably ignore that its main purpose was dealing with cardiac illnesses. You see, IP is really a boost. SPC. Remember that I said that patents were not extendable? Well, here's the exception. The Supplementary Protection Certificate can extend a patent right for a maximum of 5 years, although a 6-month additional extension is possible. It aims to offset the loss of patent protection for pharmaceutical and plant protection products that occurs due to the compulsory lengthy testing and clinical trials these products require prior to obtain regulatory market approval. But watch out, because SPC protection is currently only available at national level, and it's fragmented, which is burdensome, costly, and difficult to monitor. The good news is that on 27th April this year, the Commission has proposed new rules to help companies, especially SMEs, make the most out of the inventions, leverage new technologies, and contribute to the EU's competitiveness and technological sovereignty by creating a more predictable, future-proof, and crisis-ready intellectual property right framework. So far, there is no EU legislation providing for a unitary SPC complementing the unitary patent, something that we're going to cover afterwards. Hence, the new SPC rules proposed are laid out in the 4 proposals for a regulation, which rely on the same principles, in particular the same SPC eligibility criteria, and on the same centralized examination procedure. In practice, it will mean that the applicant will have the right to be compensated with patent extension after carrying out lengthy clinical trials for a new medicine, as usual. But it will only be needed to file one application in a dedicated EU office, indicating all member states for which it seeks an SPC. Through the new procedure, it will also be able to file for a unitary SPC to complement its unitary patent. Thus, instead of following up to 27 administrative procedures that were costly and sometimes resulted in uncertain or contradictory outcomes, innovative companies will be offered one transparent and more predictable process to reward them for their research and development efforts. No grace period for patents. This might be a little bit shocking, but in Europe, the novelty requirement is almost sacred. Thus, you cannot disclose your patentable inventions by any means before filing the patent application. Contrary to Latin America, there is no grace period. We only have the non-prejudicial disclosures to protect the inventor from unlawful behaviors, like an evidence of use. It will also apply to disclosures within the frame of international exhibitions, but meeting the requirements is so challenging that it's hardly a benefit. In any case, it gives you a 12-month credit period from the disclosure to file the patent application. And as to the industrial design, isn't there any grace period either? I'm afraid so, but we got something better: protection for unregistered designs. You won't need to apply for a registration, and it will be legally protected for 3 years from disclosure. But the disclosure has to be in Europe, and it will only cover you against identical designs. Plus, it is not extendable. Short life cycle products and companies with very low IP budget are very thankful for this, but it might not be your case. Trademark oppositions and coexistence agreements. The previously registered signs are not examined by the IP offices by default. Proactivity is then very important. You must track who registers what and point out that you find that misleading. On the other side, if you find a conflicting sign, you can reach a coexistence agreement with the other trademark holder in the terms that suit you best, by limiting the type of products or services, for example. Contrary to many Latin American countries, you do not have to obtain the approval of the IP office. Geographical coverage. One of the main advantages, if not the best, is that we have multi-level protection. We go from national to local and international. Local means the entire European Union territory with one IP application, like with the unitary patent, the European trademark, and the community design. The international level allows you to go cherry-picking and just designate a few European countries, or all of them. Here you can benefit from the European patent, the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the Madrid System for trademarks, and the Hague Agreement for designs, as the EU is member to all of these treaties. And finally, trade secrets. Non-patentable inventions, clients list, or recipes can benefit from a harmonized protection that the EU Directive on Trade Secret grants. So if you have some valuable commercial information that provides a competitive advantage, if and only if it remains secret, and have adopted reasonable measures to keep it so, then you are protected in Europe. Now let's see what's new and what's coming. Unitary patent. What is it? The unitary patent is part of the unitary patent system, together with the Unified Patent Court. It was successfully launched on June 1st, 2023, and will supplement and strengthen the existing centralized European patent granting system, as it offers users of the patent system a cost-efficient option for patent protection and dispute settlement across Europe. How does it work? Well, there is no change in the pre-grant phase, and the same high standards of quality, search, and examination apply. The novelty relies on the fact that after a European patent is granted, the patent proprietor can request unitary effect, thereby getting a European patent with unitary effect. The novelty relies on the fact that after a European patent is granted, the patent owner can request unitary effect, thereby getting a European patent with unitary effect or unitary patent that provides uniform patent protection in the EU member states, initially 17. In other words, one office, one request, one register, and one renewal fee. Let me elaborate a little bit about this. One-stop shop at the European Patent Office, or EPO. To implement the unitary patent system, the EPO takes on a number of new tasks. In particular, it examines requests for unitary effect filed by patent proprietors and registers unitary patents in a new register for unitary patent protection if their requirements are fulfilled. Easy, right? One request. Instead of validating a European patent in several countries, patent proprietors can choose to file a request for unitary effect and obtain a unitary patent providing uniform protection in up to 25 participating member states without any additional fee, administrative complexity, and associated validation costs. One register. All contractual and proprietary transactions relating to unitary patent can be registered centrally at the EPO under a single legal regime, instead of through a multiple parallel registration in national patent registers on a country-by-country basis. All of this for only one renewal fee. Annual renewal fees for unitary patents are to be paid to the EPO. This is a significant advantage for patent proprietors, as they no longer need to pay national renewal fees in different currencies to multiple national patent offices, each applying their national legal requirements in relation to rates, time periods, payment methods, and representations. What are the drawbacks? Well, to be honest, there are still some geographical restrictions. Not all the European countries are covered. United Kingdom or Turkey are non-EU EPC countries, for example. Others, like Spain or Poland, are not participating, and countries like Croatia simply did not sign. But the good news is that access to the unitary patent remains open to all EU member states. There is also less flexibility in licensing. The unitary patent must be licensed as one right and cannot be divided between countries. This might lead to more complex licensing strategies. Now you know it. And finally, there will be no more advantage of claim scope of the patent in various jurisdictions. Unitary effect can only be requested after the European patent is granted with the same set of claims in respect of all participating member states. Industrial design. The advocates for a new industrial design regulation will probably cheer what's coming. The Designs Directive and Community Design Regulation, originally created back in 2000, 20 years ago, are currently being revised. Generally speaking, the revised rules presented by the Commission on 28 November 2022 are expected to make it cheaper, quicker, and more predictable to protect industrial designs across the European Union. They aim to simplify and streamline the procedure for the EU-wide registration of a design, harmonize procedures and ensure complementarity with national design systems, and allow reproducing original designs for repair purpose of complex products. How? First, by making it possible to present designs in an application for registration, for example, submitting video files, or combine more than one design in one application, as well as by lowering the fees to be paid for the first 10 years of protection. Then also, with the new framework, it is expected to be better complementarity among EU level and national design protection rules, for example, on requirements for registering design or simplifying rules for invalid and unregistered design. This will help to create a level playing field for businesses across Europe. And finally, by introducing an EU-wide repair clause into the Design Directive. The new rules will help to open up and increase competition in the spare parts market. This is particularly important in the car repair sector, where it should become legally possible in all EU countries to reproduce identical must-watch car body parts for repair to restore its original appearance. The proposed repair clause should have instant legal effect only for future designs, while designs already granted protection should remain covered during a transitional period of 10 years. It is truly believed that the revised rules will help to further improve the conditions for businesses to innovate. At the same time, the rules also introduce a more balanced approach to design protection. This ensures that designs can be reproduced for spare parts, allowing consumers more choice in repairing complex products, such as cars in particular. Geographical indications. The geographical indications regulation are also to be reshaped. Building on the success of the existing GI systems for wine, spirit drinks, and agricultural products, the European Commission has proposed to put a complementary protection system into place to enable producers to protect craft and industrial products associated with the region and their traditional know-how, with effects in Europe and beyond. There are multiple aims. First, to establish an EU-wide protection for geographical indication of craft and industrial products to help producers protect and enforce the intellectual property rights of their products across the European Union. The new regulation will also facilitate action against fake products, including those sold online. It will address the currently fragmented and partial protection that exists at a national level. Second, to enable simple and cost-efficient registration of GIs for craft and industrial products by establishing a two-level application process. This would require producers to file their GIS application to designated member states' authorities, which will then submit successful applications for further evaluation and approval to the European Intellectual Property Office, the EUIPO. A direct application procedure to EUIPO will also be possible for member states that do not have a national evaluation procedure in place. The proposal also offers the possibility for producers to self-declare compliance of their products with the product specifications, making the system lighter and less costly. Third, to allow full compatibility with international GI protection by enabling producers of registered craft and industrial GIs to protect their products in all countries that are signatories of the Geneva Act of Appellation of Origin and Geographical Indications under the World Intellectual Property Organization, to which the EU acceded in November 2019, and which covers craft and industrial GIs. At the same time, it will now be possible to protect corresponding GIs from third countries within the European Union, so stay tuned. And lastly, to support the development of Europe's rural and other regions by providing incentives for producers, especially SMEs, to invest in new authentic products and create niche markets. The proposed regulation will also help to retain unique skills that might otherwise disappear, particularly in Europe's rural and less developed regions. This will surely contribute to attract tourists and to create high new skill jobs in the regions, thereby boosting their economic recovery. I bet you also heard many things about uprising changes, particularly regarding standard essential patents and compulsory licenses, but this is all for today. We hope this session has been useful to you all, and please visit our website or contact us for further information if you feel so. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. See you.
Hello again, and thank you very much for participating in this class and this topic. It's a pleasure for us to have you with us in our program. So I would like to thank you again and just say that the Enriching LAC Center, it's an association that's located in Latin America. And obviously we put together, as I mentioned before, we put together Europe and Latin America. As a center, we coordinate this, we coordinate the services, and we are at your disposal to support you in any time, in any sense, to make possible our main objective, which is innovation, internationalization, and make sure that we come to the reality and projects that will benefit not only our business and our companies, but also the whole humanity. Thank you very much for being here with us. Bye-bye.